This is the Kestrel Country Podcast, where we discuss the people, places, and events all around Kestrel Country. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kestrel Country Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Church, joined here once again by my lovely wife and co-host, Catherine.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for joining us. And this week we've got a podcast coming at you with Josh Flickner.
From Journey's End, locally in Moscow.
Yeah, Journey's End Cafe, one of our favorite places to go with our kids.
Kids love it. Love it.
What do they love about Journey's End?
Well, there's a couple things. They like the food, the French fries, the hamburgers, or, PB&J, I think is what James gets. But they love that you can play games there while you eat. And my favorite thing as a parent is they have big tables, that are not just long or something. They're not actually that long, but they're wide. And then they have a rim all the way around the edge so that you have room for your game board to be in the middle, your food to be in front of you, and if pieces go rolling, they don't roll off the table. Total win.
We talked about that. We talk about the table.
Do you?
In the interview.
I haven't listened to the interview.
Josh, but yeah, we talk about the table. We talk about their food. It's a great affordable place. The games, how they got into that.
And they've got some unique games. That's been really fun.
Yeah, well, having a library of games there to be able to explore some new ones, kids have new favorites, that kind of stuff is really fun. And good. Food, gather, and games, I think is their tagline. So,
it's been a great spot to take the kids.
And they're going tomorrow with their grandparents.
Yes, they are.
So, all right, let's get into this interview with Josh Flickner from Journey's End Cafe here in Moscow, Idaho. Well, it makes bad coffee acceptable when you have the stroopwafel with it.
I don't think your coffee's that bad.
Oh, that one's crunchy.
Well, you didn't dip it. You got to dip it. The dipping's actually pretty good. We should just do 30 minutes of us eating stroopwafels and drinking coffee and talking about the experience.
Exactly.
Isn't that what the people want? Oh, there we go. When it's a whole waffle, then it kind of sits in the cup. Nice. And just the tip of it is like...
It'll just slowly soften up.
Slowly absorb it up.
That's the best. Stroopwafels in the morning.
I've never had this experience before. You're giving me two... This is a 1-2 punch of experience here. Although I'm making kind of a mess on your table.
Yeah, that's all right. So, Josh, thanks for joining us. Thanks for stopping by.
Man, anytime you have stroopwafels and coffee.
We pretty much always have stroopwafels and coffee. We do. We're well stocked. More often. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Moscow now. We just were talking about the Barefoot Bandit and Camino Island, all kinds of things. But you've been in Moscow now for about a year?
Year and a half.
Okay.
Yep.
And what are you doing here in Moscow?
Having a lot of meetings. That's my wife gets asked, like, what's your husband do for a living? He has a lot of meetings and talks to a lot of people.
There you go.
And somehow that pays the bills.
There you go. Wonderful.
Yep, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We done now, right? Is that all you wanted to know?
Meetings. This can just be one of those meetings. Yeah. So, no, what's your, tell us a little bit about what those meetings consist of. What are you doing for work here in Moscow?
So I have a variety of companies across the Northwest. I mean, a couple different ones. So when I say I'm in meetings all day, it's just basically meeting with the various team leads. We were up to, I want to say 60 employees at the height of last summer across Washington and Idaho. And That's an explosive growth. That's only in the last like 2 years that we've gotten to that point. I think we're down to like 40 right now, but yeah, I'm trying to learn how to be a CEO instead of a business owner. So trying to have a lot of meetings with team members and delegating and empowering them instead of me trying to do everything. So that's why the joke is it's a lot of meetings, because I'm trying to help them do all the work and build the various businesses. But we have Journey's Zen Cafe here in Moscow is obviously the most like prominent thing that people will recognize.
In the old red bento space.
That's right.
Or I'm trying to think what it was before.
I don't like calling it that,
church.
But yes, I know that's what it was. We get so many compliments on how clean it is and how great it smells and like how beautiful it looks. We've really done a lot of work in there. So that's why I'm like hoping someday I won't have to keep saying the old red bento.
No, it won't take that long. It is. And honestly, red bento is out of there for long enough. And Moscow is a place that people move in and out of so often that I bet that's probably, I bet a lot of people don't even think of it that way.
Well, there's still a lot that do.
Yeah.
Where
and I think about it as like,
it's in the old red bento. Oh, I know exactly where that is.
And the red bento is in the old rock church building. So there used to be a church that met in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a board game cafe, but that's kind of our like unique thing. But really, more and more people are coming just for the simple, affordable, and fast food. It's like good food fast. I mean, even when we're on our lunch rush, we're like less than 15 minutes ticket time when we're slammed. So really fast, very simple, nothing crazy fancy or anything, but tastes good. And especially for like bigger groups and bigger families, starting to do some like catering. Got a lot of like schools and whatnot and businesses having us do that.
Yeah. So the board game part of it, I'm pretty sure the first time I talked to you is the first time I ever heard of a board game cafe.
Sure.
Is that a thing in a lot of other places? Is it kind of a common thing, or is that
especially in urban areas? It's really actually very common in at least as far as my experience in Seattle. It's interesting though, because I have some colleagues in other big cities, and they have a lot of game shops and comic book shops, but still not a lot of them are full on cafes. A lot of them will have like just drinks and candy bars, that's kind of the thing. But no, basically, your typical comic book shop is kind of a going away business model. It's really not sustainable. People, once they buy a board game, they don't need to keep spending money. So even if you can have your comic book shop full of people, on any day, they're just not spending any money really. So adding like a full menu of food that people need daily, it diversifies the revenue stream. And so that's why we went that way. But it was originally not started as a board game cafe. Actually, Journey's Zen Cafe was originally started because I wanted a place to feed my large family that didn't break the bank, and where I could get, pizza and a beer and a milkshake for dessert, while my wife had a salad.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. And I looked around and I was like, I don't see anywhere that I could really do that at all, let alone for like an affordable price. So,
and that was back on the west side.
Yeah, that was in the Puget Sound in 7 years ago. We started that 8 years ago.
Okay.
And we still have that location. That's our first location. It's connected to our family's gas station that we've owned since 1992. It's a community store, very, very busy, right next to 2 state parks. Camino Island's a really destination location.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where we still have that. That's over there. And then now we've got this one here. And then the last thing I do, second to last thing is we have a website where we buy, sell, and trade trading card games like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. And that's my favorite business. I wish I could just do that all day, to be honest. Like,
what do you like about it?
Oh, I love like taking old, cool, rare cards and negotiating, buying them, and then finding a customer across the world that is looking for that old, cool card. It's very fun. I also love the job creation that it does, because as we grow, we're getting a bigger and bigger fulfillment team, shipping orders out all over the world, right here from little downtown Moscow in our little office space.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? I mean, it almost sounds like you said trading cards. Like, it sounds like you're trading cards, right? And which you are basically, but you just turned it into a business. Did it start as a hobby first?
Yeah, it started as a hobby. And then I was doing it as a business when I was a teenager as a little side gig. I actually played like semi-professionally. So Magic cards are like picture baseball cards, except you not just collect them, but you build little team decks out of them basically, and then play your deck against somebody else's deck. It's like that.
Gotcha.
So there's a game element and a competitive element to playing it that also fuels it beyond just the collectability.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I played semi-professionally, actually won a decent amount of money doing it as an 18-year-old kid.
When you say won, is it like prize money for winning a tournament?
Yeah, it was cards, but those cards were worth money. They have a secondary market value. So yeah.
So you can win cards in a game.
You used to be able to. Nowadays they usually do cash buy-ins. Yeah. Okay. It's not like a gambling thing. It's just however many people play, that's the pool. But yeah, they actually used to have a professional circuit. You could be a career, just like you can be a career video game player, you can be a career Magic player. And you can still make a career out of playing Magic, but they don't have the official company sponsored careers anymore. Those just went away like a year ago. But yeah, that got me started in between the tournaments, or while I was in between rounds. I would wheel and deal over at the side table, just trading, but always like trading for a little bit of an edge, and providing a service where, I was like a middleman. I had all the cards, any card you needed, I had it. And that just fueled that. And then I sold it all and stopped for like 15 years. And then I just picked it back up again a couple years ago.
Nice. So what is it? Originally, were you selling them on because you said you have a website. So you're selling them on your own website.
Yep.
Before that, is there a platform where was that like eBay kind of thing?
So we're on there now. So we're on eBay. There's a website specifically for trading cards called tcgplayer.com. We're on there. Just Journey's End Games. You can find us on eBay. You can find us on there. We have our own website. There's another trading card company. There's several different trading card. I won't bore you with all the names, but yes, there's several of them. And we're like working on right now. Actually, we just started on Amazon too. So,
that's fascinating.
Like 3 days ago.
Is there like one company like Magic cards? Is there one company that makes them all?
They make them. The print rights are by one company, Wizards of the Coast, who also owns Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously, is a very well known name. So Wizards of the Coast does Magic and Dungeons and Dragons, and they're owned by Hasbro. The big. So as far as all the way up the chain, it's Hasbro.
Interesting.
But yeah, so they do all the new in-print stuff, but there's a pretty fun and large secondary market that exists for the trading and collectible aspect of it. We're starting to get celebrities and big names and big money coming into collectibles in the last year and a half. As you know, a lot of people, are trying to figure out how to outpace that beautiful inflation, so
that's interesting because it does remind me when you're talking about it. I mean, it reminds me of NFTs, right? Because people would talk about early with the NFT thing. I remember people likened it to baseball cards. It's like, well, there's this unique thing and there's only so many of them and people want them and collect them and trade them and there's value, right? So
I'm trying to gauge how long you're going to talk so that I can take a bite of my waffle.
Yeah, I'll try to keep talking about
it. You keep talking while I eat this waffle, okay?
It'll also reveal how shallow my knowledge of NFTs is because that was pretty much it. But no, it's just interesting how, there's become a market for so many things because of that rise of inflation, right? Because people are using other stores of value. And it's interesting. So so you said the idea for Journey's End really was first a cafe and then a board game cafe.
Yeah.
So what came about to create that aspect of it, the board game?
Well, we were knocking out of the park with takeout. But we came up with, we rebranded is what we did. So it was originally the menu and the systems were under a different branding, more of like a hyper localized branding at the time. And so we changed it to Journey's End Cafe, with a sub line. If you look at our logo of food, gathering, games.
Yeah.
So the food is foremost. The games is actually the last of those three. The second is gathering. So we started doing community events, live music, trivia nights, etc. Some of which we've done here in Moscow, some of which we're working on bringing here. But the fact that the timing was right when I was picking back up, also doing the cards wheeling and dealing, and we were doing that through the gas station, believe it or not. So you could like come in and get your packs of Pokemon cards and your 6-pack of beer and your gas and your pizza. It was great. It's like a one-stop shop. It's still like that. You can still get that out there. But anyways, yeah. So that's when we were like, people started saying, well, can we have a place to play? Because they like being able to buy the cards, but there was no place to play. So that's really how we got started. We added a board game library and then started doing board game nights, and we started getting, 10, 15, 20 people coming in on a Monday night just to meet new friends and play games. And that really opened my eyes to how gaming, especially tabletop gaming, really can be a bridge builder. I was seeing people from all ages and demographics hanging out and laughing and making friends, and then hanging out in other outside of the cafe circles. And a lot of the kids, especially the really nerdy kids, like I am one, so I'm not saying that derogatorily, but it's hard to make friends when a lot of your passions are more about gaming and sci-fi and fantasy stuff. It's really hard to make friends, in my opinion. But gaming helps you do that. And I was seeing kids, like one kid literally told me one time, he's like, if it weren't for Journey's End Cafe, I had no friends, and now I have friends. And he was crying when he was telling me that. So here's this restaurant. We're trying to make money, obviously, but we're also doing this. So that's really what pushed the impetus to go, okay, let's focus on this a little more, I think.
Yeah. And so what's the, obviously Moscow being a university town, college town, Camino Island, I'm assuming is a lot of
trees.
A lot of trees, not a lot of people.
I mean, there's a lot spread out though over a huge area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember quite a bit of permanent population. Are people commuting there to?
No, it's one way on, one way off. It's a destination, 15,000 people year round, swells to 25,000 summer homes in the summer. But the two state parks get a couple million visitors a year.
So a lot of people there in the service industry, that kind of thing.
Where there's only like 3 commercial hubs actually, and they're pretty small. Yeah, no, our location and the scarcity of services is a big part of what made that location successful. Just being honest, like that, Gotcha. If there had been 10 other gas stations on Camino Island, everything might be very different. So I don't mean to like make it seem like we're just like, crushing all the competitors because we're doing I think we're doing everything right, but like, there is something to be said for the uniqueness of that location. So I don't want to dismiss that, but
yeah. So how was that? What's that transition been like from there to Moscow? I mean, you came not only are you in a different state, different place, all those kind of things, but you came right in the middle of all the COVID lockdown craziness too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was around that time, maybe a little later.
No, it was right in the middle of that. Yeah, it's July. We moved here end of August 2020. So yeah. Well, I mean, so we didn't open Journey's End Moscow till July of 2021.
Okay.
And obviously until real recently, there's still been people who are avoiding going out or whatnot. So I would be lying if I said that the COVID stuff has not had an impact. I mean, it definitely has.
But in terms of obviously you opening, but I remember having conversations about, it's like starting a restaurant when all the restaurants are shut down,
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, the beautiful part about our concept is obviously we have the space for the games and we want to do events and gathering. But really our strength is on the food and the takeout. I mean, my fries taste great 30 minutes later, even when they're cold. I'm like, there's not a lot of French fries that I personally feel like taste great after.
That's true. And I can attest to that.
Yeah. You can attest. You've had them even after a while, right?
It's true. Still crunchy.
Yes. So like it's those little details, right? So takeout, the part of COVID didn't scare me on that. And the other thing is, I hoped to time it. And I think we did a decent job at the timing, but I hope to time it when people were just really hungry for connection. Personally, I feel like a lot of psychological and emotional damage has been done in the last 2 years from the response to COVID. And I think that our cafe and the gaming and the events and things like Chess Club, right? I think that our goal, and it's working, is feeding that desperate need. I mean, look at how suicides have skyrocketed, drug abuse has skyrocketed. So again, I'm not meaning to sound like we're just philanthropically going to scratch all that for the town of Moscow, but it's our little effort of saying like, hey, we can open up our restaurant and reserve a bunch of tables for anyone who wants, no cost, to come in and play chess, no obligation to buy anything, meet new friends, play some chess. This is just as an example. Mm-hmm. So I looked at COVID and the response to it as an opportunity to meet a need in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you touched on something that I thought was interesting. So you're like, you mentioned you guys have and started a board game library and that kind of thing as part of it. So when somebody comes in, there's no cost associated with, obviously, the polite thing to do is to buy some food or drink, right?
And almost everybody does.
But you're not renting a game. You don't have to pay to get a game. So you've just built up a library of games and let people come and play them.
Yep. I'm just a firm believer that if we build an environment that really people love to be in, I think the sales will follow naturally. I don't need to force it. You know, our gas station, we're in the Puget Sound, right? And one of the things, if you travel up and down the Puget Sound going to gas stations, many of them have signs right on the door before you even walk in. Pretty sure this is maybe even true in this area. I haven't tested this fully, but it's like bathrooms for customers only. Like don't even ask, and the lock, and you got to get a key, and like, you know, minimum purchase $20 to go to the bathroom. Several years ago, we had a big sandwich board made that said clean public restrooms.
Wow.
And there's people just come in and they're like, your bathrooms are clean and there's no pressure. Now I'm going to buy a bunch. Like, it just happens naturally. We don't need to force it, right? Or like, thank you for not forcing me to buy even a bottle of water. I genuinely don't need anything right now. But you can be darn sure that the next time I'm driving by, I will drive past your competitors to come here when I do need something, even if I have to pay a little more, like, you know, gas gallons or whatever. And so that's been a part of what I'm trying to do with Journey's End in Moscow too, is like, obviously we have bills to pay. We have employees to feed. They have families to feed. And so, yeah, that's true. But I believe that creating the space that has all these different things, and not trying to force it, I believe the revenue will come naturally.
How do you build that library of games? Was it mostly like stuff that you guys enjoyed playing at home? Was it like, how do you decide what to get and build that out? Because you guys have a lot of games.
Yeah, we have like over 220 actually.
One of the things that we've enjoyed and our kids enjoy is like, oh, let's try some new game, right?
So you might not even know this. Did you know the whole library is on our website?
I did not know that.
You can go to journeysendmoscow.com and there's a link to a website called Board Game Geek. And anybody who is a board game geek will know that that's a thing. And you can have a profile. So Journeys End Moscow has a profile on Board Game Geek, and you can see our entire library. You can watch how to play videos. So you could scope out, and people do this. They like pick a game that they don't know how to play. They watch the how to play videos, and then they come down and they have dinner and play the game. That happens. And it's really fun when people do that. But yeah, we have over, I think, 220 games. It was a very generous donation. A lot of them were donated by manufacturers, and one personal friend, an employee who he had 150, I think, that he wanted to donate. And there's some obscure titles that people I had never heard of and definitely have not played, but also some good classics. So mostly donation has been what it was. So.
What are the most popular, maybe not from the library, but you mentioned like you do chess club night now, you've got what other nights do you have, and have you seen a trend of what's the most popular in Moscow, and is it different from over in Camino Island?
Yeah. So Camino Island, our most popular nights is when we do the live music or the brewery nights. Those have been the two most popular nights. Packed house. We have a huge outdoor seating out there with a flatbed pickup truck for a stage for bands to play on and everything out there. It's pretty, we can't really replicate that quite here, but we are working on developing with the space we do have here, we're working on developing, a live music rotation, family friendly still and whatnot. But here, the most popular things have been Pokemon card game night. That's on Friday nights. That's been growing. We just started it and it's been growing. Very popular. Chess Club has been a huge success. We have anywhere from 20 to 30 people, and that's only been going for 5 weeks. And we just got even on the Idaho Chess Association recognized as an official place. So now we can start having tournaments and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. So how does that? Do you guys have a bunch of chess sets, or do people generally
we have several,
bring them in?
And then other people have been bringing them because some of the nights have been so busy that we've needed more. And it's open house. It's just 5 to 7:30, which is right before we close. Just come anytime, play one game, leave, stay the whole time, whatever you want to do. We try to set it up so it's if you think you're a beginner, kind of sit here, intermediate, sit there. But what's been happening is we have a lot of advanced players who they're happy to play against anybody, and they're teaching. I've got several people who are way better than me who they'll sit down with my son and they'll play and they'll be like, no, you shouldn't have moved there. And here's why. And then they're teaching. And
that's cool.
They love it. They've thank you for letting me be here, teach chess. I'm like, what are you talking about? Thank you for being so passionate about it,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's not been tournament style, that kind of thing. It's just more of an open
Just
house.
come on Tuesday nights and play some chess.
That's cool.
We've had families who are in eating, they didn't even know it was chess. And then the teenage son's like, oh, can I go play a game? And then they walk over. I mean, what restaurant can you do that at, right? Just,
that's awesome.
Sorry to, a little self bragging there, but I feel like it's a pretty cool thing we got going. So.
No, it's really cool. That's what we haven't done chess or anything, but it's definitely a favorite of our kids for lunch is we get to go sit down and then spend the time as a family. The food's quick, which is great. Then we get to spend the time as a family playing a game, and it's not one of the games we already have at home or whatever. And it just, it's I like that family aspect. The other thing that I found really cool is that huge, maybe you have a couple of them, but the huge table, big square table with the rim on it. Mm-hmm. Was that something you saw someplace, or because there was the pieces don't fall off the edge, and it's big enough to have some food and the game? I was just brilliant.
Yeah, no, there was a game store over in the Puget Sound that closed a few years ago, and they were doing a going out of business sale, and they had those tables, and we actually have one that's even bigger that's over at the Washington location. It's nice. Even bigger.
Is your space bigger over there?
No, it's technically smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, it's technically smaller, but we just happen to have an even bigger table over there. And I think it'll seat 16 people or something like that. This one, the most we can pack around this one is 12. And we've had it several times where groups of college students have all done a meetup, and we don't know how many are coming, and then they're just pulling extra chairs up, and it ends up being 12 of them. And that's it. We don't mind, obviously if people are making a scene or doing something weird, we're going to ask them not to, but we've never had to ask anybody to leave. But we don't mind if people rearrange the tables and chairs. It's open seating, right? So we don't have wait staff. We'll bring your food out to you. We're happy to get you anything if you do need it, but most of it's self-serve. You order up at the counter, we bring it out, and then you're just kind of, hey, just make sure, keep it family friendly, and feel free, move chairs around as you need to. We'll help you if you want. So, yeah.
What kind of food do you guys have in there? You've got beer, which is awesome.
Yep.
I mean, fun to have a place. Do you guys have an espresso machine?
We do. Yeah. We just got a small one. So disclaimer, like we are not a quote coffee shop. And I think we make good espresso. People have said we make good espresso, so I'm not downplaying our skill in that. But we have one size, we have only a couple syrup. It's just a thing where people were asking for it, and we're working on expanding it, but it's going really well. So I would say within the next 6 months, expect to see us have a much more robust espresso offering. But yeah, we have coffee, tea, espresso, milkshakes, hand scooped milkshakes. We have 12 different ice cream flavors. A lot of them rotate. We can make any one of them. We'll make into a milkshake. You want chocolate chip mint? Great. You want Rocky Road? We'll make it into a shake. Although I don't recommend that because the almonds make for miserable eating. But coffee milkshake, cool. A mocha milkshake, we can do that with. That's pretty phenomenal. A beer shake, we can put the salted caramel Jeremiah Johnson porter into a milkshake. Man. Super delicious.
That sounds amazing.
Yep, we can do that. That's just the drinks and the dessert, right? We sell Sisters cookies now. We're selling Sisters cookies. People love that. Their hours are a little limited down at the bakery, so we're open a lot, and so pizza.
Where do you guys get your ice cream?
I think that it all comes from Cascade Glacier. Okay. If I remember correctly. Yes, Cascade Glacier. Although I think we've had a couple times where if they've been out of a flavor, we've grabbed it from like Dryers or Umpqua, I think is the other one. So we really are trying to keep the flavor selection going, and we're a little less concerned about like it has to be the same brand every time, but it's 99% of the time it's Cascade Glacier, which is out of Oregon. It's really good. Cool. Yeah. But yeah, burgers, salads, soups. We're just starting some new soup recipes. That's been going great. Just this week, started some new soups.
Do you have a lot of people come in and study?
Yes,
because that's I think we talked about this before, but like back home in Michigan, and obviously they're all over the place. But Panera Bread was like a lot of people go study at Starbucks or whatever, a coffee shop. I was like, I always want like food when I'm studying, a little bit more substantial. So I love Panera because they were big. It was a big shop. Like you felt like you weren't necessarily like stealing someone's seat by sitting there for a few hours and studying, or working. And I feel like I get some of that vibe from you guys at Journey's End again, where it's like you don't have dedicated seating, it's fairly open, and you have a lot of seating, so you don't feel like we have
a lot of outlets too.
If I sit there for a couple hours studying or working, like I'm kind of getting in the way of people who need a seat or whatever.
Nope. No, absolutely. Happens all the time. We have outlets, we have Wi-Fi. It's getting more and more people are coming down, and they're doing exactly what you say. I see students or just guys who work on their computers from home, guys and gals. They'll come down, they'll come in right at 11, they'll grab a cup of coffee. 1 o'clock, they're grabbing lunch. 3 o'clock, they're grabbing another cup of coffee and a cookie. I mean, and that's from my perspective where the revenue stream, it's just natural. If you're going to sit there for several hours, whether it's running a D&D campaign or studying or working, you're going to get hungry and thirsty.
Yeah.
And it happens every day, all day long. And we would love to see more of that. We just added some new seating. People haven't been in a while. We're getting a lot of compliments on the new seating. We've got some variety of like kind of eclectic, comfy chairs that are more conducive for studying. So
awesome.
Yeah, working on a private room. Yeah, we're working on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Private so you could reserve it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice. For games or
meetings. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Or if we want to run like a game tournament. Friday nights gets really busy, and we've had a couple Friday nights where it's packed house. But one of the pieces of that is the Pokemon League, and so ideally we'll be able to have all the Pokemon players like in the back room, and then that frees up all the normal tables for other families and students and dates. A lot of people come for dates, believe it or not, to Journey's End.
Nice.
I've been surprised by that. I like games and I like dating my wife with a board game, but I'm just like, oh, that's really neat.
Yeah.
I've seen some blind dates happen. Literally like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. what game do you want to play?
That's pretty smart, especially for a blind date or just getting to know somebody. It gives you something to do.
It's a great icebreaker. And then I have no shame of going up and be like, hey, I highly recommend you guys play Patchwork, because that's like in my opinion, like the best 2-player game. So, and they're like, okay, great, let's try that. So it's fun. It's very fun.
That's awesome. Have you tracked or found what your most popular menu item is? Or even like generally?
I mean, burgers are pretty popular. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, our French fries are, we get told all the time that we have the best fries in Moscow. I'm not making that up. You can see it online if you think this is me, like it's on there. Okay. Like read the Google reviews, read the Facebook reviews. A lot of people say we have the best fries. So fries is the number one thing.
Dude, that,
and you can get a basket of fries for $3, by the way.
I think you recommended that buffalo
chicken wrap's good. Dang, chicken strips really is chicken strips is probably, I think that the chicken strips is probably the number one most ordered item. I want to say, and yeah, again, we're just all about. Oh, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take it back. The French dip. The French dip's really popular because I think it's one of our best values, because you get this big old sandwich and fries for $10.99, you know? So, I mean, and you're full. Like people tell us all the time, this is too much food. You should not give me this much food.
Well, and then you can go down to, you have like peanut butter and jelly, don't you?
Yeah, you have on the kids menu, just real simple.
For kids, yeah.
But even that, right?
It's finish and...
Yeah, it's even that. It's like if you want to get each kid their own meal, you can do that. If you're on a really tight budget and you're like, hey, you know, really cheese pizza is what we can afford, but maybe mom and dad are grabbing, you know, a burger and a salad, right? You can do that. And I mean, like that could be under $30 and you could feed 5 or 6 people if you needed to, right? So again, like we're really trying to be, you can spend over $100 on dinner at our restaurant, just like you can anywhere else. But you can also feed your family for, I would argue, cheaper than even any fast food in town.
Yeah.
I say that right. As somebody with 7 kids.
Yeah. Have you, on that note, and you mentioned inflation at the beginning, what is that getting harder? Have you guys had to adjust your prices because of food costs and stuff yet?
No, not yet. No, not yet. We honestly haven't even done any like portion adjustment or anything. We've done some smarter buying. And we've gotten on some, what it did honestly was cause us to incentivize to say, hey, suppliers, we buy a lot of this item from you. What kind of rebate programs can we get? And this is something a lot of people don't know about the restaurant industry. And now once we've done that, then if costs keep going up, then kind of probably the next step is either raise prices or shave portions a little bit. But full disclosure, we hadn't done that yet. So as things were going up, we started just going to our buyers and being like, hey, you know, and we actually were able to negotiate things back down, and then we didn't have to raise our prices. So
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anything else people should know about Journey's End or what's coming next? You got any events coming up?
We do family-friendly trivia nights on Thursday. Those are pretty fun.
Nice.
You know, trivia is pretty popular. A lot of places obviously do trivia, but you know, some of them are bars, and so like families aren't able to go in there together. In our place, we did Pokemon last night. We had like whole families doing trivia together and stuff. So that's pretty solid. I think just honestly, just follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We constantly are posting our events when we're doing them. It's too many things, and it's constantly kind of changing as far as trying to like say it ahead of time. But yeah, if people
give it a follow
on, and yep.
Well, and I know for us, like we've got spring break. This next Logos has it for 2 weeks, which is kind of crazy. So we have a 2 week spring break, and we're not going anywhere. So for all those people sticking around in town, great thing, hit up Journey's End. And hit up some events. And
people talk about how it's going to be really slow in the summer for us, like as a restaurant. And it's very interesting because we actually we were busier in August than we were in December and November. So I'm not sure that that's going to be true for us because we do have so many families and teenagers that come in and spend money just like anybody else while they're hanging out kind of all day playing games. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm waiting with bated breath, to see how busy or slow it is with the student schedule. But I think spring break will be a good little micro test of that.
Yeah, for sure. Spring break. And then, the nice thing about Moscow is it does get quiet in the summer, which is kind of nice.
Except on Saturdays.
There's stuff. Yeah. The farmer's market brings in people. And there's a lot of things that do go on throughout the summer, different, whatever, their camps or soccer camp at the U of I, and then different things that bring in a lot of high school kids, actually.
Yeah.
So
a lot of conferences and stuff. That's what I'm saying is like, I'm not so sure. It might be more focused on the weekends, maybe. Like maybe we'll be potential. I wouldn't be shocked if we were actually busier in the summer weekends than in the rest of the year, but maybe the weekdays will be slower. The fact that we have the other thing is like the ice cream that's something that I need to do a better job of marketing once the weather starts getting warmer. Like come in and you can get $1.50 kids hard scooped ice cream cone. That kind of thing I think will really be helpful in driving a lot of traffic even once the students head home. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea for sure. Pushing that. I know we love Panhandle. But all the interesting flavors are not everybody's cup of tea, and there's definitely not $1.50 scoops, right? Like it's a little bit more pricey.
Yeah. Like you said, it's good. So. It's super good, and also, but sometimes it's nice. Even just the line can be. It's nice to have another spot. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Josh.
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
the time, and go.
Thanks
check
for letting me stop by.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.